Today is the UFC Card Collab number 5. It was a great talk with Damian. We went over topics like the 2024 new Topps release and some of the info that we have from that product. We went over some Topps Vault 1-of-1s that we purchased and just some interesting information about those cards. And we also did the trash, sell, hold segment with some coveted rookies. I hope y'all enjoy this video. So I've got with us the eternal, he who remains, Damian. What's up, dude?
I'm still here. I'm not much, man. Just getting ready for a weekend before UFC 298, but excited to be here. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, just some secret info for you guys out there. This is actually the Friday, so I gotta speed edit this and get this out, hopefully before the fight, so I'm not busy while those are going on. 2024, man, Topps is coming. We'll just start there. Did you see the email that got released where they're actually delaying it a little bit? What's your thoughts on that?
I did. Obviously, that's only just came out over the last few hours.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, for those of my viewers who watch your viewers, which are probably much the same, would have saw my opinions on the designs and stuff in my last video last week. And it's also no surprise, like I was never going to be buying a box off the pre-orders anyway, so it literally affects my life not at all. So yeah, I feel like obviously I feel bad if people are bummed out. I'm sure there are people who are pretty bummed and wanted those cards as quick as they could get. So I do feel bad for them. I do have empathy for them, but personally for me, it makes no difference. So what about yourself?
Well, I am pre-ordering one. I'm excited to get it. I kind of think this is almost a good thing. I saw some like backlash online, but Panini would have never done this. They would have sent whatever was wrong immediately. So like, it's different, right? You know, it is a change. Now, I wonder what actually was wrong with the products. Was it, you know, they didn't have enough boxes? Was it, you know, a certain insert looked weird that they caught last minute? Like, I wonder what that exact issue was, but hey, whatever, man. It's you know, we'll have to wait a couple weeks maybe. So I don't think it's too big of a deal, but as long as the product comes nice, that's really what I'm worried about at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I think as for what happened, I guess the only thing I could think of is Mike Rubin must have watched my video last week and
He just scrapped
like,
all those
what?
that you were talking
Stop
about.
the printers. Stop the
Yeah.
printers, everyone. We
Oh,
need to
I
just
love that.
completely change
Yeah,
this shit
dude.
up from start. So
I loved it. They put all the boxes, just dumped them in the dumpster and lit them on fire. Yeah, so sticking on the Topps theme, what's your thought with the price point? You know, it ended the pre-order at about 219, which just for reference, the 23 Prism, I believe, was around 3 to 350. I couldn't find my receipt for that, but I mean, that's a good chunk lower for what could be, you know, a similar like type of product with Topps Chrome and Prism. What's your thoughts on the 219?
yeah, no, the 219 pre-order I thought was very fair to be honest. As you said, comparing back to Prism that we've seen over the previous years, obviously Prism's come down as the years have gone on for its first release. But as you said, even comparing to 2023 Prism, I think the pricing was very fair in comparison, considering Topps Chrome is a very well established and product to begin with. So I thought it was quite good. I honestly, like in best world scenario, I would like to see a little bit closer to maybe the 150 mark. I just think UFC as a whole, as a product, I think the cheaper they could have it, it could be more enticing for new collectors, which is what they probably want to have to happen. So I think I'm not sure what the pricing is for other sports with Topps Chrome, but I just think if UFC was a little bit cheaper, I think it could be more enticing to more people in the future, which would only be a good thing. But as I said, 220 I actually was quite surprised. It was quite fair to begin with. So
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. I think 219 is better than the Prism prices, but like you were saying, I believe someone did a comparison with Topps Chrome Baseball and Topps Chrome UFC, and it was way too close of a price. You know, like you're saying, there should be a gap between the two because baseball is so popular and everybody collects it, and UFC is still relatively small. So I'm with you on that. What do you think about the pack odds? I am absolutely in love with pack odds, and I hated that Panini didn't do that. So, what's your thoughts on that?
no, I like it. I think it's very straight up, keeps it. keeps it very transparent, so people know when they get, especially even the refractors, like they kept the
Yeah.
refractors to pack odds, which was actually, yeah, I think is a great thing, as you're saying as well. I think the more transparent they could be about that, it gives people, even collectors and people who are looking to move those cards onwards, it gives them a better idea as to, okay, well, how rare or short print is this actual card? So I was, yeah, surprisingly pleased with that as well, to be fair.
Yeah, it to me it was fun. I love looking at like I don't know. I don't really like math, but for some reason I enjoy like percentages and ratios. And so when I was looking at all the pack odds, there was a couple that, like I like the Kings and Queens design. I think that's going to be a fun card, and it's one of every 72 packs. So that's one out of every 6 boxes. So that's almost a case hit. And there was a couple that were super rare. Like I know you had your hater hat on for the Venom, but that one's like an insane odds. So it's kind of fun. I think it's a cool addition.
Yeah, same with the Youthquakes with super short prints as well. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
was
I'm not
surprised
sure
with
what
that
the
too.
odds are there, but yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, it could be nice for pricing as well, like having
Mm.
it's kind of hard like with the Firestorm, there's no print run, so you have no idea what a short print even means. With the last couple of years, but with this, I think it'll help people with their buying and kind of pricing out certain things based on the odds.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. As I said, the more transparent they could be with how low printed or high printed the cards are, it makes it easier for everyone. So yeah, it's a good thing for sure.
What's the thoughts on the 7 UFC products in 2024? Now, this was a random thing that I saw online, a random article. It was kind of a Reddit thread and it linked to this article. It looks legitimate to me. What do you think 7 UFC products in 2024 means?
Seven's a lot. I was really surprised. I've said on a few videos now, dating back earlier in the year, I would have expected 3 or 4, like 4 max. So
Right.
for rumors to be 7, I mean, I can't even count to 7. So that's a lot. But
6.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, if they want to pump 7 out, I'm welcome to seeing what designs and the way that Tops will take UFC. So it's a good thing. It's also not a good thing because it's just that's a release less than every 2 months, which I don't know if the
Yeah.
UFC community can handle that. Breakers, I'm sure I don't know if they'll love that, if they'll hate it or whatever, because they just be churning over to the next product. So it's going to be very interesting if that is actually true or if it's just a rumor. But yeah, it's actually was very, very surprising to hear. What about
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. I got something. It's the crystal ball, dude. It's
Oh,
back.
you got it back from the shop.
Well, I dropped it. The
Yeah.
crystal ball. I'm thinking 7 is including retail in the mega pack. Now I have no. This is totally just speculation, but I think it's going to be like you got Topps Chrome, right? Then they have the mega box or whatever that is. Then they have a blaster. So I think that's going to be including the 7. So
Okay. Yeah.
I think maybe that's what they're doing. So then you could potentially maybe just have 3 products being released, but like, like retail or whatever included in the 7, because 7 would be, I think that'd almost be impossible, just design wise, quality control wise, to pump out 7 products and you're including retail in that too. That just seems insane.
Yeah. No, that's why I think that's why you're here, mate. You're equaling out the the lack of brain power that I have because you've just probably I think you've just cracked the code. So you're probably right. It makes a lot of sense. They just said they can't be having 7 products of hobby boxes and retail and
That'd be
on
crazy,
top of all of
man.
that.
I'm being optimistic. That's kind of just, I hope they don't do 7. But just thinking about it, I was like, dude, that would be just an absolutely insane amount of products. So I did some deep diving on like the comparison between Tops and Prism as far as print run, and there was a lot of math here, so I might be wrong on quite a bit of this. But for the base set, I was comparing Chrome and Prism as far as print run. The non-numbered parallels, there were 7. In Panini, there are 6 on the base set in Tops. So that's like, you made your video. It was like all the weird refractor colors. There's going to be base, the refractor, and then 4 others. So it's going to be a lot of non-numbered on the base.
Yeah. But yeah, at least as we were talking about just before, at least they've sort of given the pack odds so people can base their own assessment off
Yeah.
rarity and collectability off those pack odds, which is a good thing for sure.
Yeah, one other interesting thing that I saw was when looking at all this was the auto print run. So for Panini, they had base autos, green autos, silver autos that were no pack odds, right? No print run established on those. So they could have made thousands of those. Who even knows? Now, Topps, all autos are numbered, which I thought was really interesting. And there's 241 total numbered parallels. So for whatever that's worth, I thought that was kind of a cool addition that they are sticker autos, which are not, we all want on card autos, but at least all of the autos that I saw are numbered. So adds a little bit of value to it, I think.
Yeah. No, that's as you said, like it's good that they've just like laying it all out. This is, how many copies we're going to be having of everything. So as you said, especially with the autos. So as you said, comparing back to Panini, who knows what they did. I think it was pretty safe to assume like green parallels and silver parallels from Panini in their first year were probably less common than what they were moving forward with 2022 and 2023, but we'll never know. So yeah, it's great that Topps are moving forward with letting the collectors know and the people know exactly how many copies are going to be out there.
Last question on Tops, and then we'll move on. Do you know if Fanatics does international stuff? I know with Panini it was really tough for you guys overseas to get products. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't seen anything as yet, whether it's too early or not, but it would be silly if Fanatics and the branding power they want to have, if they don't get into the markets of Europe, like if Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world, because those parts of the world have been like very, very neglected product wise for forever now. So I think if Fanatics will do what they want to do, I think they'll fix that issue soon enough, and they'll get either through retailers or something, they'll be getting products on shelves here, I would only imagine. But yeah, not yet heard anything about that for sure. But as I said, I would definitely expect it.
Nice, man. All right, we're moving on to pay-per-view buys. This is the 297 recap. Damian had the DDP Concourse Green, if you guys remember that from last week. I had the Chris Curtis first auto blue. And what was the results for you, my man?
So I put the card out for sale as I generally do if I'm trying to look to resell it for this segment. And I put it out for resale at $49 OBO. Had had quite a few views actually throughout fight week. I think I had 30 odd throughout fight week, and then obviously leading into the event, and then he won the event. As he won the event, I had an offer come through, best offer at $30. By that point, I had like I think 6 or 7 watches, and then it also had pumped up to about 50 views. So it was getting views, it was getting traction, which was quite surprising in the fact that I only from then had one person send an offer at $30. I waited because I hadn't, obviously being European time, I hadn't watched the fight live, so I waited to rewatch it before I decided whether to accept or
Mm-hmm.
decline. Or yeah. Anyway, he won, so I thought, no, I'm going to stick to my guns here. My plan was, if he did win, I want to get that card sent to me now, and then I can get it graded and then list it for the next time that he fights.
Yeah, the
So
next championship.
he won. I actually counted back at, I think I counted back at about 39 or something. And yeah, the guy declined. So he wanted it for $30, which is that's fair for him. But yeah, I didn't want to sell it for that. That's what I had into it. And considering he won, I think it's worthwhile me for now to check that card over, see if it's gradable. If it's gradable, get it graded, sell it on when he fights again. Or if it's not gradable, obviously keep it in the same condition and try and sell it again fight week. So either way, I'll have it up for sale when Drakus fights again.
Nice, man. Sounds like you stuck to your guns, you stuck to your plan, which is always a good thing for us when we're trying to deal with, flipping and selling. Dude, I had a opposite story with the Chris Curtis first auto. Zero goose eggs on 0 views, 0 watchers. That's insane, man. I don't know. I mean, he ended up winning. I honestly thought that was a fun fight. I mean, he threw over like almost 300 strikes. People were, calling it a sparring match or whatever. you throw 300 strikes and you box the whole time. People don't like it. You wrestle and grapple and control people. They don't like it. So people are hard to please, I guess. But he did win. So
Yeah.
hopefully maybe I can flip that in the future.
Yeah, no, MMA fans are. We are hard to please bunch. Some more than others for sure, but yeah, no. As you said, hopefully you've got that one now, and you can keep it in the bank for next time for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I got it for 16. I listed it for 30, thinking maybe I could get 20 or 25 for it, but no luck. So we'll keep it and move on. Next time, we got the future pay-per-view buys. So this is for 298, which this should be out by then, which is tomorrow. And what are you thinking, dude? What are you trying to do here?
So this is the first time I've actually been able to find a fighter on the main card who I consider to be a part of my PC, and that is Paulo Costa. I've been looking at his first few prisms. I do have behind me here already. I have his Ruby 2018 Topps Chrome rookie card. So I've already got a really big card for him. He's not someone who I want to be just throwing money at and putting in lots of money, but there are still some cool cards. So I've been looking at his 2021 Prisms especially, and I was umming and ahhing. Do I get the green? Do I get the blue or do I get the orange? I would not like to admit how much time I've spent looking at an orange and blue prism of him, just checking the centering from eye to eye, as I said, is something that's super important for me. But yeah, I decided on the blue prism. It was super cheap. Yeah, I think I paid $10 for it, including shipping. So
Nice.
was super happy with that. And it's a bit of a color match as well with the glove tape. So yeah, I was super happy with that. I don't own a blue prism at all from 2021. So the other part of me is like super intrigued to see just what that card looks like in hand. So I'll be super excited to get that one. How'd you go?
You're planning to keep it or flip it? What are you
Yeah,
thinking?
yeah, sorry. So yeah, the plan is just to keep that one. So
Nice.
was happy to have a actual spend some money this time for this
Yeah.
segment on a card that I plan on keeping and don't have to stress over listing and selling and stuff. So
Yes, it
that was
definitely feels much better to do it that way.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, man.
How'd you go?
I'm going with the Jeff Neal rookie card first auto of 99. So I actually bought this card a while ago. It was probably maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half ago. I always just liked his boxing style. He's got a lot of power. I think he's a guy that is going to continue to have some fun fights within the UFC. And I got this for 1450 back in the day. Trying to flip it. It's up right now. It's got a couple watchers. It's got a couple views. We know that the people do not like Ian Gary right now. And if Neil starches him, he's going to have some big fans. So that's kind of what I'm banking on with this fight.
Did you was that the Inception auto? Which auto did you grab?
I believe it was the knockout.
Oh, okay, because he does have an Inception auto as well. I think did you say it was 2020 or which
I
year?
think it's
Which year?
2020. I'd have to go look at it. I didn't write down the year for this segment.
Yeah, because I've actually well, I know we both talked about Inception autos from Topps as well from
Hmm.
2020. They're really nice looking cards, and I have seen a Jeff Neal version of that. So I was wondering if that was the one that you had picked up or
I
not. But yeah.
wish. I wish because those are beautiful. But
Mm.
whenever I was looking at these, that one was more expensive. So I was like, I'm gonna get the cheaper
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. Well, I on the
Any
other hand, sorry, I was going to
No, go
say,
ahead.
I on the other hand have an Ian Gary orange prism up for sale. So I hope Ian Gary head kicks him and knocks him out.
Hey, it could happen. I think that's gonna be a fun one. Any idea who you're eyeing for 299?
One guess.
Let's see who's fighting. Hmm. You like rookie flips on these, I think. Are you going Almeida for that one?
I'm not gonna lie, Zach, you're breaking my heart right now. Who's headlining UFC 299? It's
You're gonna try and sell it O'Malley?
considering I'm being there. No, but I'll pick up a cheap O'Malley for the PC for sure.
Oh, I see. I was thinking flip. Okay, yeah, the PC makes
No,
sense. I was like, I can't see you flipping in O'Malley.
no, yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah,
But yeah,
I
no,
think I'm gonna go Blades, but we'll see. That's still a ways away, so we don't have to worry about it. But I was just wondering where your head's at on that.
yeah. Should buy a Cheeto card.
Right? That way you're playing both sides.
Yeah.
All right, man. Coming on to our next one, the divisive agree or disagree. We can get angry, we can get mean. Dodgeball reference. All right. So today's topic, everyone, today's topic is we see it, the grading companies, we got PSA, we got Beckett, we got SGC, we got Tag coming into the mix now, all the other ones. And, buying, selling, there's a lot of discrepancy between these different companies. So the kind of the question for the audience and for us today is we see PSA 10s sometimes selling for 2 times the amount of SGC 10s. Do you think a PSA 10 should have that premium and be worth up to 2 times the amount of an SGC 10? Damian, what are your thoughts? Do you agree or disagree with that?
I strongly disagree with that. I don't understand what this hobby law is, and I've said this before, I admit to it. I also participate in this hobby law that PSA is the value, it's where it's at. If you want value for your cards, you grade through PSA. I got no idea why. I'm no secret into I don't like the look of the slabs. Just the red and the white label. This is just me being personally picky, but I just don't like it. It very rarely, unless it is a red parallel, matches the card itself. So that is just an instant turn off for me. As for specifically SGC 10s to PSA 10s, no idea why the hobby doesn't give love to SGC 10s. I can understand a little bit. I have seen some SGC 9s, for example, that may have a little bit of a whitening or slight damage on one of the corners, which I don't think you would ever have with a PSA 9. So I think there's a bit of a difference there in like grading.
Corner grading?
Yeah. So I could understand that, for example, okay, maybe a PSA 9, which doesn't have a showing damage of a SGC 9 would get a higher value. But as for the 10s, I mean the 10s is literally the best score that you can get. So what the difference would be between a PSA 10 and SGC 10, I have no idea. You would think they were both perfectly conditioned cards. And the fact that, as I said, they have as you mentioned, there's a very, very often is a quite significant price difference. It is just absolutely bewilders me, and I got no idea, considering I actually like the look of SGC slabs better. Yeah, easily, I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Okay, cool. Well, we're in a unanimous agreement here. I figured we would be just because we kind of talked about this off air before, because it's a really like unique and intriguing topic because it is kind of just like you said, like hobby lore is like a great tag. It's like a hobby lore, it's hobby rule. Everyone abides by this for some reason, and just logically for me, it doesn't really make sense. You're buying the reason for grading companies, right, is to look at a card and say this card is shitty, it gets a 6. This card is in great condition, it gets a 10. And that's what we're paying for. We're also paying for the look of the card. And I understand that that's really subjective. Some people think SGC is too big, which it's very minimally size difference. I've actually measured them side by side, and it's got to be like a 2 or 3% bigger slab. So I'm not real sure why people use that as an argument, because to me, it's not really a valid argument. Now, how it looks, I understand. I'm with you. I have some PSAs in the red, and I like how they look. I have a lot of SGC just because they're cheaper, man. And I want the cards that I want. I don't necessarily care as much about the grading companies, but hopefully with, just the zeitgeist will calm down and people will start to value cards based on rarity and based on what the card is and a little bit less on the grading company. But cool, an agreement with
Yeah,
us.
we got one.
We got one, baby. And the next extremely divisive segment, we have the legendary trash, sell, hold segment. I tried to pick some rookies here just because people love rookies, and we've got some good rookies that are bubbling up and some good rookies that are pretty established. So this is almost like new, medium, and then like very established as far as the still newer, younger rookies. And they're all about the same price range. First for you, Damian, we got the Bo Nickel 2023 Immaculate Rookie Mem Auto of 8 acetate. It was like a raw card review 10, auto 9, whatever that means. Next, we have the Kamzat 2021 Chronicles Gold of 10 rated rookie PSA 9 Boars. around $1,000. And then we have the Armand Sarukian 2022 Prism True Gold of 10 PSA 10, about $1,000. So all three of these are relatively close in price range. What's your trash sell hold?
Well, like you mentioned last time, this one was a little bit easier for me to choose, to be honest. The trash was just a straight up easy pick. And not because I don't like him, but I'm gonna have to trash the Arman Chizukian Gold Prism. The only reason I like this card was as a Gold Prism, and I think Gold Prisms are cool. Obviously, it's also a rookie Gold Prism, and as you mentioned, it's a PSA 10, right? So that ticks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. But I just as I said, comparing to the other cards, I just don't think Arman has that star power. He's a great fighter and could very well be champion. Until that day comes, I just don't think Arman is ever going to be sort of relevant enough for me to want to have that card, because I would only be wanting to have it to sell anyway.
Mhm.
So I'm going to trash you, Arman. Then the next two, as you said, you're getting between the very well established superstar who is on the verge of like getting to where everyone thinks he was going to be from the start, compared to the very, very new superstar who everyone has very, very high hopes for. This was a little bit harder to choose from, but it was still relatively easy for me just because of personal preference. I am going to sell the Hamzat. I would be selling it. I do like the rated rookie, as you said, it is a gold, but if I had to choose between keeping a card of Hamzat and Bo Nickel, I'm going to keep the Bo, just because Hamzat frustrates me just as a fighter. Like how his career's gone, he
Yeah.
sits on the sidelines, like fights one in every 10 years. Like that just, as I said, this was just a personal thing for me. And if I got to keeping to the rules of this like fan favorite segment, I am
Mhm.
going to be selling the Hamzat when he fights next, probably in 2026. And then I'm
Oh,
going to
let's hope
keep,
not. Let's hope
I'm,
not.
I'm going to hold the Bo Nickel. It was an on card auto, which is really, really cool. Bo Nickel, sky's the limit for him at the moment. He's still very much unproven. But as I said, choosing between those two, I'm going to keep hold the Bo Nickel for the fact that it's an on card mem auto.
Nice, man. I think that's a pretty probably most people would agree with those. I do have some different takes here, and maybe it's just
I
because
love it.
I want to be contrarian. I don't know, but we'll give some of my reasoning for it. So the so I'm gonna sell the Hamzat, and my reasoning for this is he's already in the cream of the crop in these matchups where he could potentially lose any of the next fights he takes. And he's a great fighter. He could be a champion, but I think he's so risky right now that I think the next fight is going to be a ton of hype for him, rightfully so. He could be in a championship picture, right? And I think we could be kind of near the top of his not only his career but of his hype. You know what I mean? Because if he loses, if he gets knocked out, if he gets exposed in any way, could kind of crash in value. So I'm going to go ahead and cash in on the Hamzat now and sell him what I think could be the hardest part of his career before he takes an L. Also, with the sell and not the hold of Hamzat, I think that him moving to 185 is not going to be good for his career, man. One of his biggest advantages at 170 was just his raw strength and his size. And I don't know if he can even make that weight class anymore. Him moving to 185 really completely shifted how I viewed his career. I think he could have been a long time champion and really have given Leon some problems for that title. But with him moving up to 185, I don't really know how I view his future. It's kind of uncertain to me. All right, the trash. I'm trashing the bow, dude. And it's just he has too far to go right now. Uh, I I mean you could sell on him. Now the process here was I'm either selling Hamzat or Bo, but I think that
Mm.
Hamzat could potentially get that title fight, so I think he might be at a higher premium with his card than Bo just fighting some random, guy. Who's his next opponent? Is it Brundage? Cody
No
Brundage?
idea, but yeah, perfect
It's
example. No idea. None of us know. So
Yeah, so I mean his cards are going for a lot, right? But the matchup I think really excites no one at this point, and there's so much risk. If Hamzat loses to DDP to Strickland to Leon. Like everybody's like, okay, those guys are amazing. If you lose to like a Cody Brundage or a no name type dude, you're done. Like people are gonna drop him like nothing. So I don't even personally would want to risk that. I would just trash him. And I'm gonna hold Armand. Now, the reasons I'm holding Armand is kind of the opposite of why you trashed him. He's younger than Bo Nickel. He is 27 years old. He's already, if he wins this next one, he could be potentially in line for a title shot. And we know that him and Islam was a competitive matchup. I don't think he'll beat Islam, but I do think Islam might win one or two more title defenses and try and move up. And I think Armand could be the next guy to really control this division as far as all the youngsters that are up and coming. So for potential, I think Armand has the best potential to be somebody that'll be remembered long term because of a title fight win streak. So that's my hold. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think you made a good point, especially with the Hamzat. Like in terms of selling, obviously we both chose to sell the Hamzat Gold rookie, rated rookie, but it's sort of seen quite often that you would get the most value out of a card leading into a championship run, more so than when actually winning the championship. Now, the only person who I think broke that rule was Sean O'Malley when we saw him win the title back in August
Your
last year.
boy.
There was a big, mind you, it was only lasted about 72 hours, but there was quite a significant price jump and demand for his cards after winning the title. Hamzat and Sean O'Malley, quite similar sort of hype levels, you would say. So maybe we will see a temporary jump for Hamzat, even though he is already one of the most top 5 expensive guys in the hobby. There may be a bit more of a jump if and when he was to win the title. But as you said, once Hamzat 170 compared to 185, it's still yet to be seen. But I agree with you. He was a weight bully at 170, which was to his advantage. And then 185, man, is just a super stacked division. So is 170, but like 185 is just, literally a whole nother weight division. So, yeah. And you mentioned about Armand holding the Armand. I agree. Armand's like a super talented fighter, and wouldn't be surprised to see him, as you said, especially if Islam moves up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Armand holding the belt one day, but for the sake of having to choose to hold Armand, I just wouldn't have any interest in that. So that's why I'd rather hold the bow.
Yeah, fair enough, man. That's why I love this is you get kind of different perspectives, and everybody's different perspective usually makes sense, the reasoning behind why you would hold or sell. You mentioned a cool thing that I wanted to kind of touch on that I just remembered was about Armand not necessarily having like the like star power or whatever. And I think we're seeing a cool thing with Merab Dvalishvili right now where people are starting to love Merab, right? And everyone didn't care about him 6, 7, 8 a year ago. But what happens is once these people start to rise up the ranks, you get to see more of their personality and people actually pay attention to who they really are. And I think that is kind of the reason that happens is because they get closer to that title shot, and most people don't really pay attention to people unless they're getting close up the rankings. Now, there's exceptions to that rule, but I think that's kind of a cool example that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, no, Rab's definitely a cool example. As you said, like he would have been booed 12 months ago. And then
Yeah.
sort of since putting on the O'Malley jacket when Aljo beat Henry Cejudo, when he put that O'Malley jacket on, the Michael Jackson jacket on in the background, people just love that. And as you said, it sort of gave him a bit of a pump up, and maybe sort of pumped up his tires enough to be like, oh wait, like I can be liked, like just got to show a bit more, because he obviously just naturally did that. That was just something that he naturally did in his own personality. And then since then, he's been putting up some really some quite clever, funny videos on his social media, which from a boring fighter, you need that. Like it's a whole Colby thing, right? Like people don't want to really particularly watch Colby fight because it's generally a snooze fest, but he makes up for it outside the cage with his theatrics. So no, I agree. It was kind of cool to see Merab sort of his story unfold so far, and I think he's definitely building a name for himself. And if he can beat Cejudo, then I mean it's between him and then Sandhagen for the next top contender for sure.
Yeah, that's a fun division. There's tons of, there's superstars, there's all different styles, it's stacked. So that's a really fun one to keep track
I've
of.
got to admit this though too. Like everyone knows O'Malley's my main PC, but like I understand, like I feel like I understand how much of the UFC is a business, and I think
Mhm.
UFC are doing everything they can to get Cejudo a title fight because they just know they would obviously favor O'Malley. Like Cejudo's this tall, right? Like,
Yeah.
and he comes out, especially if he comes out in his karate stance again. But
Yeah.
like, I think that's a perfect example of like UFC trying to give the pump because if Cejudo beats Merab, then he's the next guy, right? He just went from losing to a title fight to now being the number one contender, probably jump over Sandhagen. I think I'll admit this, as I said, as a O'Malley lover, that UFC want to keep Sandhagen probably as far away from O'Malley as
Yes.
they can and
Yes.
bring in, as I said, bring in matchups like Cejudo.
All right. So for this next one, I just kind of just wanted to shine some light on the Topps Vault cards, which are the one of ones, and kind of just talk about them. I haven't really seen anybody discuss these, but they are an interesting kind of lore within Topps, and kind of go over some of our purchases because you purchased your first one of one, correct? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so it was probably about a month or so back now. There was a whole listing of a consignor who was selling, must have been someone's collection or something, I don't know, but there was a whole bunch of Topps 2010 knockout blank back Vault 101s. And with the certificates, there was Don Fry, there was Rampage Jackson, there was Kevin Randleman, there was a whole bunch of other ones. They were the three ones that I was interested in most. From a design perspective, the Topps Knockout is a cool card. I also knew that, I should say I knew, I'm 99% sure that 2010 Knockout is Don Fry's rookie year for UFC Topps. He does have some Japanese like wrestling cards from earlier on. I think he might even have some Pride cards from 2006. But to my knowledge, someone is welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. But 2010 Knockout is the first year for UFC that Don Fry had a card. So that was an extra cool factor. That was one I went a little bit more hard on with a little bit of higher of a bid, comparing to the Rampage Jackson and the Randleman, which were cool looking cards, great designs. And just a simple fact that they were just, as you mentioned, they're very, very unique. I didn't know anything really much about. I've heard of blank backs. I didn't understand what the whole thing about them being a 101 was. They came with a certificate, which makes it sound like super legit and like super intriguing. Like, or I
Yeah.
get this 101 with also a certificate from Topps to like for its authenticity, which is really, really cool, I thought,
Hmm.
as a collector. So I went the hardest on the Don Fry, and that was the one that I won. I won it for super cheap. I think I won it for a bit below $40, which was just mind blowing for me. Didn't win the other two, but was super happy, especially as I said, was really keen on the Don Fry because, as I said, to my knowledge, it is his rookie card for Topps UFC. And it got in the mail with everything. It's in my box that I've got right off to the side here now. I haven't opened it up. We're going to be opening up a mail day video for everyone next week.
Nice.
But
Hey, you guys subscribe and be on the lookout for that video.
thanks. Need all the help I can get. But yeah, that was my pickup of it. And after doing that, I just Googled about it because, as you mentioned, like they're not very really talked about. I haven't really sort of come in contact with them too much or really had them come up in conversation with anyone before. So jumped on blowout forums and just had to check what they were about. Um, is there anything you want to go in before I go into what I was
No,
sort of
keep
what
no,
I
keep
came
going.
with?
Hmm.
All right. So yeah, jumped on the blowout forums because I was just really intrigued. Like, why do these come with an authenticity certificate? Like, what is the sort of story? Why is there why do they exist? And I just come across a forum where somebody was talking about just the Topps blank Vault 101s for other sports as well. So obviously UFC would be nothing different from those, but it just seems that they were a proof card that Topps had that they used in the printing process just to make sure the design from on the front, the design, everything was all good before they sort of sent out all the other sheets for printing. So they were not very popular upon their release. A lot of collectors didn't like them. They thought they were quite insignificant. I read about that a few different collectors would only collect them just to have another 101. Also, some people suggested that they would get them and get the back of the card signed by the athlete
Oh,
if possible, obviously being a blank back. But I was really surprised just reading this short forum about people didn't like them. People thought they were trash, and I just don't understand it at all. As it's similar to a printing plate, but it's an
Yes,
actual card. And as I said, it's a proof card, so technically it's the
it is
first
one of the
copy
first
of
ones. Yeah.
it's the first copy of the final design
Hmm.
made it off the printers, and that's why they come with this authenticity certificate. So it as for me, for what I like to collect, I like rarity, I like obscurity, I like uniqueness. I like to have something that not many other people can have. These are literally a one-on-one. As I said, tie that in with Don Fry, who's a legend of the sport, a guy whose
That
fights are,
mustache, dude,
yeah,
legend.
a guy whose fight I like to go back and watch every now and then. Just seems like a guy who'd crush a, you know, a six pack of beers and then go in,
Yeah.
punch someone in the face and then go and have a steak afterwards. Like just
Hmm.
seems, and then it's his rookie card, as I said, to my knowledge. So it ticks so many boxes for me. I had to get it. So
Yeah. Awesome, dude.
yeah, what, like maybe share about whatever it is that you have learned about him since picking up yours.
Yeah, so a lot of the exact same information, the um, first kind of plate that, or not plate, but the first print off the press, approved card. And what I saw was, I believe they did this almost every year except 2020. I couldn't find any examples of. So, man, I think these are really cool cards. I'm really glad you brought up the printing plate. To me, this is exactly like a printing plate card. It's basically like a cousin of that because you have the blank back, because they used it as, you know, the proof. Like it basically has the same story and the same significance as a printing plate. And it seems like a lot of people like those. So I was surprised at seeing those comments as well, that people didn't really appreciate them for whatever reason. I got the right here, Leon Edwards, true rookie 1 of 1. And I was so hyped to get that. You know, he's one of my main PC guys. Very cheap, dude. For a one, this is cheaper. This true rookie 1 of 1 is cheaper than his normal, like Prism 1 of 1 cards, which is, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like this is his true rookie 1 of 1. This should be one of the most sought after cards that he has. And I think I ended up getting it for like 100, 150. They lost the COA at eBay Authenticity, dude.
Oh,
They lost the COA. So I got a discount on the card at least, but I
okay.
was I
Mm.
was so bummed about that. And they basically gave me no reason why it happened. They just said whenever they were packing it up, they couldn't find it and lost it. And so I was really bummed. It still has that 1 of 1 Topps vault with the serial number on the back. There is no online database to check those, which is a little shady and is definitely a negative with these cards. Also, the grading companies will not grade these, which I thought was interesting. Now, that was, again, just like you were mentioning, it was forum information, so I don't know how true that is, but I'm just getting secondhand information. But I would imagine, you know, it kind of makes sense that these would be tough to get at PSA. You'd have to have the actual certificate with it, or not, and there's no online database to reference whether that certificate's even real or not. So just some heads up advice for y'all. But if you're in the look for a 1 of 1, you want something unique, you want something relatively cheap compared to other cards, check out these Topps Vault 1 of 1 blank backs.
Yeah, no, I would just to add to that, I'll like just me personally, obviously this is where everyone's different and people can let me know what they think down in the comments below. But I personally think these are kind of cooler than the printing plates, to be honest. Like the printing plates, they're very unique, and of course they have a story behind them they were used in the actual printing
Yeah, they're
process.
heavy and
But
metal.
they're heavy in metal, but they don't really reflect like they're hard to
Visually,
sort of
they look
visually
nothing like the card.
yeah, they're sort of
Mhm.
hard to depict like the card from that. Where
Mhm.
this is the card, right?
This is
Yeah, of
it,
course, it's
man.
got a blank back, but it's also got the cool backstory, which, as I said, for
Mhm.
me and what I want for my collection, sort of adds to the intrigue, like just the collectability of this card is that it was actually part of the process, the printing process. It's got a backstory built into it. And as you
Mhm.
said, I was very surprised to hear that they're not generally graded. I would find that hard to know the reason why, especially if you could provide the certificate of authenticity, which, as you said, like who knows where that's come from. But all the while, you would think that would mean something, right? Like if we're
Yeah.
going to have certificate authenticities, then like, yeah, you would think that would mean something. So I'm surprised to hear that they're not typically graded, but like it's one of those cards, you know, cool just to keep in a one touch. And as you mentioned, definitely like I recommend them. Obviously, everyone has different boxes they want to tick for their own collections, but this is the first one of one I've ever bought, and maybe the only ever
Me too.
one of one I ever bought. And as you said, you've got the Leon. I 99% sure I've got the Don Fry UFC rookie. So both happy collectors over here for sure.
Yeah, very fun, man. Hopefully you guys appreciate some of that information. Maybe for future episodes, we could go over something like this where it's not necessarily a super hyped card, but just something that we find interesting that we could, you know, talk about and kind of learn about and share with the viewers. So thanks
Yep.
everybody for watching. Go be sure that you're subscribed over to Damian's channel at UFC Card Talk. You know, he's doing some great interviews. He's looking at prices. He's looking at singles that he buys. Really doing some cool stuff over at his channel.
Yeah. Actually, look, we've got to end off. We've got to end with this. This is not prompted at all by Zach, but I'm going to finish with a complaint for the UFC card community. How do you and Eric over Box Alarm Trading do not have 500 subscribers yet? It's an absolute travesty.
We're
What are
so
you people
close.
doing? You're one subscriber off. If I swear to God, if the week after UFC 298, if you do not have 500 subscribers, then I might just take the mic. I might put the microphone down. I might quit because this is an absolute travesty in the UFC card community conversation that you have been bordering on 500 subscribers for so long now. Hit
We're
that
ready to give
subscribe
cards
button
away,
right now.
man. We're ready
It's
to give
literally,
cards away.
where is it, Zach? It's just over here somewhere. Just push the
Yeah, it's
button.
somewhere.
Especially if you're watching this long. If you've been watching this long and you have not pushed the subscribe button, then start thinking about what you're doing with your life because, yeah, it's that simple. Sorry, guys, ended on a negative one, but I just had to do it. Like, yeah.
Love it.
Thanks for watching.
All right, everybody. See ya.